Welcome back to the 32 Approach podcast. I'm your host, Thomas Summers. I'm here, like always, with my co host, Hall of Famer Sierra Romero. Today, we have a very special guest. She's the first athlete that we've teamed up with for the 32 Approach softball app, the #1 softball developmental app on the market. We have Paige Halstead in the building.
So when it comes to your training side with catching, can you talk a little bit about your background, let the viewers know who you are, where you played, and what all you're into at softball?
Yeah, so background on catching, I kind of started when I was around like 14, 15. I was more like recruited as an infielder utility player. So once I kind of started to practice catching, that came along with strength and conditioning training. And, I grew up with a family that owns a gym and I was in there every single day. So I kind of got that specific training for catching specifically. So grew up with a lot of great athletes surrounded in our facility, and I was thankful enough to get to UCLA and play there from 2015 to 2019, and play professionally beyond that. And I think I'm just grateful for a lot of opportunities I've gotten. And yeah, I take strength and conditioning very seriously as a catcher because I think that you need to develop those skills to not only get stronger, but kind of hone in on those skills as a catcher.
Right. And then as far as like that experience at UCLA, can you talk about being a Division I catcher, how hard that was, things that you had to kind of go through to figure out what kind of catcher you were and the type of leader you were behind the plate, like that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So, at UCLA, the biggest adjustment for me was the pace of play. And I'm sure that you can relate to that too, where it's like you move on from travel ball and you're on the field practicing with all of these amazing All-American athletes, and the pace is like 10 times that. So, I think that was the biggest thing for my training is, making sure that I was okay with that pace and practicing that every single day. So that was the biggest thing for me. Other than that was my leadership on the field. I'm more of like I would say quiet, soft-spoken type of a catcher. So I kind of had to mentally flip a switch and be like, okay, I'm either gonna like sit the bench and not talk, or I'm gonna have to flip a switch and, yell and be a leader on the field. So I think those two aspects on the mental side and physical side were the biggest adjustments for me in general.
Your dad started this facility, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's called EM Sports Academy.
hmm
And what year was that founded in? Do you
Oh
know?
gosh. Well, I was like 10 years old.
Yeah, so this has been something you've always had, like in your back pocket, like a straight up training facility like that. And did you specialize in being a catcher at a young age? Like, did you know that's what you wanted to do?
No, that's the thing. I was more of like a utility player up until I was like 14. But once I, fell in love with the catching position at a travel ball practice, I started to start to practice that in general.
Yeah. So how was that transition then going to UCLA from this facility? Did you, since you were doing all the right things before, were you like a 4-year starter there, or did you? Okay.
Yes, yeah.
So you felt like you were ready, that you prepared that way in high school?
Yes, yeah. So high school didn't really prepare me. I think it was outside of high school, being in our facility and having that weight training to follow, almost like a college weight training program, but specifically tailored for like a younger athlete. So I think following all of that really helped me succeed at UCLA, and I'm very grateful for that.
I feel like it's just funny because I feel like we say this like all the time, and our viewers are probably like, you guys say that all the time. Well, it's true. Like getting in now and doing the training you need to do now, whether it's the softball specific training or like in the weight room, it really does put you a step ahead, or at least like put you right on track right when you get to college. So you have the opportunity to start. We always say like you're not going to college to just sit the bench.
Right.
Like you don't want to use your freshman year as like a building year. Like forget that. Like I want to go and play. Like I don't want to just go in and know I'm going to sit.
Yeah.
So like can you talk about what you did that made you feel so prepared? Like, were you in there every day? Was it a couple times a week? Like, obviously you focused a lot on softball too, but like, I don't think that the viewers fully believe us sometimes when they're like, really, you were you know, doing some type of lifting and conditioning when you were in high school or even middle school? Like, yeah, I was doing something because I was trying to get in tune with my body and stuff. So like, can you talk about like what you did when you were younger? Because I mean, it obviously paid off.
Yeah. No, I 100% was in there every single day, and that's just kind of the sacrifice that I wanted to make because like you guys were saying, I wanted to be an impact player. I didn't want to just go there and, you know, take my first year to get settled and everything. I really wanted to start and impact the team that way. So I was a little bit crazy. And I mean, I come by honestly because my dad's crazy too with workouts and everything. So I was in there every single day, and if I did have an off day, I was stretching or recovering my body. So I really take that seriously, and I always take pride in that too, because I feel like in my mind, like the more I prepared, the more confident I felt on the field. So I always take weight training, and I did a lot of agility training too, because as a softball player, you need that as well. So taking those two aspects, it really helped me be prepared for college.
What is that disconnect? So, because we get it over here, I don't know. You guys have a facility, right, that you've been since you've been 10 years old. So it's kind of like the natural thing. But here, I've had a hard time like getting that over to a lot of young girls. But the ones that do like take it upon themselves, join the program at a super young age, like you see them excel, you know, especially the ones that are here 5 days a week. So it's like, what is that disconnect between, you know, young girls and like, is it being afraid of the weight room? Like, what do you think it is? And then what would you recommend? Like you told them straight up, like, hey, this is what it takes. But like me saying that to them,
It's tough.
there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I 100% understand. And I mean, I think you can relate to this too. It's kind of like you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And our biggest thing, even at UCLA, was to buy into whatever you're doing. So if you really want to make it to that next level, like you have to do things that are outside of your comfort zone. If that's weight training or agility training and everything that you guys do. The way that I kind of got to the level that I was at was being surrounded by those athletes too. So
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing is like being comfortable being uncomfortable, you know? So it's like,
Yeah.
I feel like so many times the excuse too is always like, well, I'm not on a good travel ball team. And don't get me wrong, like being on a pretty good travel ball team that's taking you to these tournaments, like that does help a lot. I'm not saying it doesn't, but like you can go to camps and clinics, and if you're good, you're going to show out and you're going to get recognized. Like you're going to get noticed. Unless you don't play well, then you're not going to get noticed. It's just kind of like, you know what I mean? It's like the same thing in the game. Like you hit well, then you're going 4 for 4. You don't, you're going 0 for 4. Like it's just how it goes. But I feel like a lot of times, like these athletes, they put the excuse on like, oh, well, I'm not on the travel ball team. Like I'm the only good one on my team. But yet they're not in the gym, in the weight room with those athletes that are elite, right? Because like you just said, like if you surround yourself with those people, you start to play at a different level. And we talked about this the other day with Mike Stith. Like when I went from 14s to 18s and I skipped 16s, I was like terrified.
right.
Like talk about being out of your comfort zone. Like
Yeah.
the second baseman at the time was committed to UCLA. Shortstop was at Florida. Like I had nowhere to play. Like I'm trying to like earn a spot, take a position from these really good athletes. Like I was extremely uncomfortable. And I feel like the athletes and the softball players he gets in here, those are the ones that like buy in because they're not afraid to look dumb.
Yeah.
Right. It's like you can go do a drill, right? They could be lifting. Everything about it's totally wrong. But who cares, right? He's going to fix it. You're going to get better. And you're still going to be better than the girl who's at home not doing this, right? So it's like, it's so interesting to me. Like sometimes I feel like people are just so scared of looking silly.
Yeah. I mean, I was there, you know, I was 100% that person. And I think once I turned that page and, you know, really focused on my growth in general, like I needed to feel stupid and I needed to feel like I was doing something wrong because if I wasn't, then I wasn't getting any better. You know?
Yeah. The app winner. So the girl who won our giveaway, which we'll have another like video coming out with that. I asked her because she had just started really playing softball like her senior year or her freshman year of high school, like for real. And then she got, you know, an offer. She's going to go play. And I was like, do you know how hard that is to start softball that late? And you still got an offer. It doesn't matter if it's D1, D2, D3. It literally doesn't matter. It's still hard to do because you started so late. Usually softball players are starting travel ball when they're 10. Like it's crazy. And I was like, that's really impressive. And I asked her, I'm like, how did you get so good? Like, I didn't understand it because she looked very athletic and I don't think there was any other athletes in her family. I'm pretty sure she was the only one. Like her parents weren't athletes, like nothing to where she would have grown up around it. And her answer was like so awesome to me. She was like, I was tired of being the worst one on the team. And I was like,
yeah,
dang.
that's a mindset thing,
right?
Yeah.
You know, that's all mindset.
But I
Yeah.
was like, the fact that you recognize that and like were real with yourself to be like, I'm not good and I'm the worst one on the team and I want to get better. And you were like, okay, I'm going to get better.
Yeah.
Like that was a decision.
Yeah.
And like, you know, you can't just decide that you want to be an All-American. Like that's going to happen when you get the results, but you can decide that you want to work hard
Yeah.
to be an All-American.
Yeah.
Like it's not something that's just given, but it's like, I think that people just think that people who have, you know, played and graduated from UCLA and done all these, they think that like, oh, well, shoot, that was just God-given talent. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, like,
Well, I had a run in 2 days ago with an athlete in here. So like she was just doing hitting with our hitting coach Steve, and she like canceled her membership for our program, like the strength and conditioning side, and is just doing hitting lessons once a week. And I was like having a conversation with her because it's like this girl can be really good.
Yeah.
And she's a lefty bat, like good, like pretty developed because you know she spent a year in here. And she's like, I felt like I was getting too big. Like I didn't want to get too big. That is a real issue. And then I'm like, where do you want to play again? And she's like, I want to stay in Florida, you know, Florida State or Florida. So I showed her 2 pictures. I showed her my Michaela at Florida State flexing, and then I showed her a picture of Skylar Wallace. I'm like, you're afraid you're gonna get too big and you want to play at the universities? Like
look at these
it just doesn't. It doesn't like it. I don't know how. Like I don't know how to get that over. It's like I say it all the time. Everybody wants to be Sierra Romero till it's time to be Sierra Romero. Everyone wants to be a Skylar Wallace till it's time to be Skylar Wallace. Like they want that, but they don't understand what it takes. And it's like that has been a consistent tug and pull battle.
Yeah.
Just what I've seen like in the softball world. But the ones that do it, it's a cheat code because everybody else isn't. So if you do it, it's like holy rip. You know, that's how it's like we have this girl in our program. Like I'll give her a shout out, Peyton Cushman. She's been here for 3 years in a row. And she had baby giraffe syndrome. She was like, you know, very uncoordinated, no power, nothing. And she hasn't missed a day in the last 3 years, got a Division I scholarship last year, committed. And now it's like, you're the best player in the state. Like, so it's cool to see that, but that wouldn't happen without the strength and conditioning side and without the extra training side. Like she said earlier, no eyewash, there's a lot of misinformation out there. So we've got a lot of people asking about catchers. We're like, hey, we don't really know much about catching. But then we're like, actually, wait a minute, let's go get a professional, a pro, so this can truly stay like the best training app like ever. So that's why we brought you, and we're doing the things right. So now all they have to do is follow it and they're set. It's a cheat code because the girls that aren't on this, the girls that aren't, you know, training at a facility like you guys is back home, aren't training at a facility like here. Because let's face it, there's not a lot of places out there, you know,
that are doing it right.
that are doing it right.
Yeah.
And if it is, it's, you know, $2,000 a month.
Exactly.
So it's like, all right, it's $32 a month and you get everything: hitting, fielding, now catching, strength and conditioning. Like, so it's a no-brainer. So the ones that are doing it are going to see that gap.
So one thing that we like really preach on our app that it provides is consistency, because like there's no thinking. Like I know me, and if I don't have a trainer or if I don't have this app, I won't work out and I will not be consistent. And I know that about me. Like I am like, I know people are probably like, oh yeah, it's probably so easy for you to go in the gym every, no, it's not. I don't want to. I'd rather sit at home. I'd rather have some hot Cheetos. I'd rather just sit and watch Netflix. Like I'd rather do anything but that. But it's like, I know I have to do it. And so like having the app, like especially when I was in season, kept me so organized and consistent in the gym, because every single morning I wake up, I'd have an email saying, like, you have a program today to complete. And I'm like, okay, I got to go to the gym, got to figure out when I'm going. And I'd go, and like, there's no thinking of what do I do? Am I hitting the right things? Am I doing the right things? Like it literally is just laid out perfectly. Can you talk about how important it is to be consistent in your training with catching? Like just how much that benefits you?
100%. Yeah. And I'm the same way. I'm a big like routine girl. And if I don't have my routine, I'm not consistent with it, then I don't feel accomplished that day. So that's the biggest thing for me. So I think having this app and having like a community to support these girls is huge for them. So with catching specifically, I would practice every single day. It didn't matter what I worked on, but I had to practice every day. If it was framing, working on my throwdowns, things like that, I had to do something in order to make myself feel like I got 1% better that day, So consistency with anything is huge. I had this funny that you said the giraffe thing is because I was that girl. Like I grew up and I didn't gain muscle with being in a facility my whole life. I didn't gain muscle until I was like 16, 17. So I didn't think I was going to be strong. I didn't think I was going to develop those muscles, but that's consistency for me. I was in the weight room every single day, getting my work in no matter what, and if I didn't do that, then I just felt like I wasn't getting better. So consistency is huge, not only with catching, but with weight training in general.
I feel like an important thing to make note of is like if we ever get negative feedback on our app, the negative feedback is always that it's too hard.
Okay.
And so
Well, that's a good thing.
Exactly. And that's what we try to say, because if you do legit everything that's marked out every single day, it is going to be extremely hard. It's extremely hard for me too.
Yeah.
And so, exactly. And so, but it's preparing you for college, because college is really hard.
Yes.
Like the college routine and schedule is way harder than the professional one.
Yes.
So it's like there's more games, there's just more you have to do, there's school involved, there's so many more things happening. So it's like when we say we're trying to literally prepare you for what's to come, if you do that app, right, and say you're not on a team that's more elite, because I also think me being on travel team, I was on help too, because that was training very much like I was in college.
Yeah.
But like if you have that, it's like you get an idea of what to expect when you do get to college, because it is hard. It is a lot of hours. It is a lot of late nights, because you're trying to get your schoolwork done after practice and everything else. So it's like we're not going to make the app easier, but what like you have to do as like the athlete on it is, if one day you're not feeling as good, like you just said, you have a routine, you have to do something. Take at least 1 to 2 things, like do the full workout. Don't skip the workout, do the full workout, but maybe you're not going to do all 6 hitting workouts that day. You're going to do 3, and then you're going to do 3 of the catching.
Yes.
And then you're going to do 2 of the fielding. Like take something, because like you'd be surprised how something, like a little bit of something every day adds up.
Yes.
Right. And it helps kind of like with that muscle memory too. I don't think girls understand how important the muscle memory is, because when you're tired and fatigued, which is going to happen, your body falls back to what it remembers you doing.
Yep.
And so it's like, we're not going to make it easier. It's meant to be hard. Like, so like, don't be scared of it. Like, try it and let yourself fail.
That's
like, let yourself see where you're at.
Yeah, the biggest thing is trying it, right? Because if you're scared of it and you don't try it, you're never gonna know if you can do it. So I think that's the biggest thing too, is like if you guys are adding 4 rounds or high reps, a lot of rounds, like no matter what, if your body does get tired, you have to finish that. Just it's a mindset.
It is a mindset, and that's the entire point, right? We want these athletes to be elite. We're giving them a platform, a blueprint that's proven that they just have to follow it. And you guys' route to where you were, wasn't easy. So it's like, why would we would be doing them an incredible disservice if we just like pulled it back and didn't show them like, hey, this is actually what it takes. It's like, but then that comes down to it. This is why at high level Division I schools, like 1% of softball players make it, because it is for that upper echelon. But that's what we want to do. That's like the branding, the whole thing behind it. We want to do it right. Like no nonsense, literally on the landing page to buy the program, to sign up for the free trial. It's hers. Hey, if you think this is going to be easy, this isn't for you. Like literally
don't
saying that.
Don't join. I'm telling you right now, if you don't want to be pushed, just don't even bother. Like that's just, and I think that sometimes people think that's probably just like part of their ad or whatever. But I'm like, no, I mean that wholeheartedly. Like it's going to be hard, and you might fall off because it's too much for you. And that's a lot of people. They're like, this is too hard. And you're not going to play Division I softball.
It's going to show you like, okay, say you want to go to UCLA, right? And now if you want to be a UCLA catcher, and you're giving them exactly what you did to be an elite catcher at UCLA, and they're saying it's too hard, they're saying they don't want to do it. It's like, what are you even talking about? Like, here's somebody that did exactly what your number one goal is, and if you're not willing to do what they did, like, what the heck?
Well, it's like you said, everybody wants it until they realize what they have to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think this is like a golden ticket for
Yeah.
athletes. I really do, especially because we're incorporating catching. It's like it's a well-rounded app. So I think people should take advantage of it for sure.
Can you talk a little bit about, you don't have to talk about like me reaching out to you and stuff, but like just kind of like what went into your thought process on like, oh, do I want to be a part of the app? Do I not? Because like our big thing is like, yeah, we reach out to the people we think would be a good fit, but like we really only want people who, one, we know can instruct and give good quality information to the viewers and the app users, but like they also just, they have to have like done it, right? Like the worst thing we could do is give somebody someone that hasn't done anything, right? They don't actually know what it's like to be out there when
Right.
things are hard.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about like what your process was like figuring out whether you wanted to be on the app and then how you came to the decision?
Because real quick, sorry not to cut you off, but just to make a note, like that is the origin story of this entire thing. Is like, okay, so for me, like I always had this in the back of my mind about something specifically for the softball population because I felt player development was very behind.
Yes. Yeah.
But then it's like I started to think, and it's like, heck, how I've never like hit or done, played at a high level. So like, how am I giving these girls a good service if I never did it myself? And I think that is a very big disconnect in this industry too. Is like you guys obviously don't have to speak about it, but I can. Like, there's a lot of girls out there like doing a bunch of different stuff that have never played this game at a high level, and they have these very big followings and very big influence, and we use the word eyewash. They're like teaching these players to train eyewash. The amount of misinformation is crazy. So it's like these girls are buying into what they're saying simply because they have a very good social media presence and following. But then you look at their stats and they hit a buck 10 at a JUCO, and then it's like, all right, like how is this adding up? So that's why it's important that we maintain and we do this thing right. We have Sierra Romero, basically the best hitter that ever lived, as the head of this, teaching the hitting side.
Right.
Okay, so now bringing in an elite level athlete like you that have done it the right way from a catching standpoint is like huge. We're just staying on that path, and we always will.
Yeah.
So
No, I think that's huge.
Yeah.
That's really huge. But going back to what Sierra was saying, I remember my first like memory of you. It might sound like stupid,
Oh gosh.
but I remember it was at like Chino Hills High School or something, and you were practicing with Sydney. And I remember you just taking ground ball after ground ball, and I was like, this girl is like a beast. Like I'd see you doing forehands and backhands, but like you just weren't stopping. And even if it was a good one, you just kept going. And I was like, this is what I want to be, So like you are a huge role model in this sport, and not only on the field but off the field, your character and your family's character, it's absolutely amazing, and one of the most genuine families that I've met. So
Gosh.
It's
Too early.
No, but seriously, that's like, I don't know if you remember, I was like a short little skinny girl, watching you take ground balls, and I was like, this is what I want to be, So like you were definitely one of the most influential people in my softball career. Just watching you play college softball, it was crazy and surreal to me. So definitely motivated me to get to that next level. So once you reached out to me, I knew that this app was going to change the game, because I know who you are, and I know what Summers is doing too with the athletic program and everything that you guys are making into this app. It's going to be game changing. So I think, once you reached out to me, I was like, I'm in. Like, you don't have to say anything else. I'm in, So
That's awesome. The big thing with Paige is we're going to film all the top 15 to 20 drills that she has that she thinks are the most important for catchers to really hone in on. Kind of like what I did with defense and hitting. I didn't just throw out every single drill known to mankind. I picked the ones that I think have a specific purpose and can actually help a hitter if they consistently work on them. Because again, softball is not about doing a million drills. It's about finding the ones that work for you and staying consistent in them. And that's how you get better. That's how you learn to develop your catching, your hitting, your defense. Like you stay consistent with what you're doing. So we'll film that with her today. And what's nice about it is even though she's all the way in California, we'll have a way of getting new drills in. So if she were to say, hey, Sierra, I have 4 new drills that I really want the app users to have, we're going to make sure that we can provide that for you. Whether it's having a videographer out there to film her, to send the drills in so we can put them in the app. This is something that's constantly going to be like kept up with so we can continue to provide you with the best drills. So what do you like with today? You don't have to go over every single drill, but like, can you just like go over maybe like one drill you're really excited about that we're going to film today?
Yeah, so I think just specifically, I brought a lot of drills from my own experience. Being at UCLA and playing professionally, even Team USA, I learned a lot from being on those stages. And so every drill that I have here is kind of brought from that experience that I had. So I'll be going over a lot of blocking instruction. I specifically focus on throwing off your knees. So a lot of drills incorporating that. And I think one of my favorite drills is framing off of machine as well. So I have a lot of different higher level drills that I can incorporate along with younger athletes that are looking to focus more on fundamentals. So I have a lot of mixture of drills, and I'm just excited to get to it.
And not only are we doing the drill side, we're structuring them for a legit like progressions and regressions that you do every single day. So it's going to show you like when to do them and like, exactly how to do them. Not only that, like we're going to collaborate and build out a custom strength and conditioning program for catchers as well and have it run parallel to her catching program.
All right, that's all we got for you today on the 32 Approach podcast. Thank you for joining us. This is going to be a great one. I can't wait to show you all the catching drills we have that are catcher specific for workouts and for softball specific training. Make sure you use code PAIGE to get a discount. You guys will not be disappointed.